Welcome, everybody, to All Hang Up and Listen, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with 8 different Western New York locations with over 300 beers to choose from. Make sure you get over to Fatty Beer, one of Western New York's also only kid and dog-friendly bars, open 11:30 a.m. till 10:30 and later, and with live music, entertainment, and trivia at all 8 of the locations. So go check them out. And obviously, Buffalo logo apparel, Buffalo's best spot for all of your Buffalo sports apparel needs when it comes to the Sabres, the Bisons, the Bills, the Bandits. They have it all from your shirts, your hats, your hoodies. Make sure you get over to at Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter. And, of course, at Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter as well. Again, Sabres dropped this one 1-0. Against a very, very good, if not the best team in the NHL right now, the Vancouver Canucks. They have everything firing from all aspects of the game. Their goaltending, their defense, their power play, their penalty kill, their offense. Just Pettersson is just having a unbelievable season. Quinn Hughes is doing Quinn Hughes things. He's always in the conversation. He's always going to be in the conversation for the Norris Trophy. I can't be that upset with the effort tonight. I thought the Sabres played a good game. I thought in terms of team defense in their own end, this was one of their best games of the season. They were collapsing down low in their own end, not giving up much in front of their own net. I know that goal that Lafferty had scored, Clifton probably could have did a better job picking up his man. But other than that, man, they were picking up sticks. They were taking bodies, moving guys out of the way, and they were crashing the net in the offensive zone and getting guys to the net, getting pucks to the net. Vancouver was blocking a lot of shots. Buffalo also missed a lot of nets. So I can't be that upset with the effort tonight and how they played. I obviously wish for at least a loser point out of this one. But that's not how the cookie crumbled tonight. Before we kick right in, I want to kick it right over to Hockey Hotline. We had 4 callers in, which we've had 3 every time so far. So really excited for that. Going to kick it over to Hockey Hotline right now, also presented by Fatty Beer. Welcome to Hockey Hotline. Sabres lose this one 1-0 to the Vancouver Canucks. 4 p.m. start. Heartbreaker came right down to the end. We're going to kick things off with our very first-time caller, Mr. Jake. How are you doing, Jake?
Not too bad, man. How about yourself? It was a tough game, but it's been a tough season all year. Nothing that we're not used to. So
absolutely, bud. What do you have to ask? Let's hear it.
Well, even though we didn't score a goal today, what'd you think about the Sabres' toughness after the elbow from JT Miller to Dahlin? I personally think that Sabres did a real good job, sticking up for each other, and a lot of times we're used to seeing them not do that. We're mostly used to seeing them crawl into a ball like an armadillo, but it's nice to see them finally have show some toughness for once. So, what'd you think about their the way that they stuck up for Dahlin and the whole team today?
I liked it being Owen Power. You don't really see that out of him. He was the first guy in. The scrum didn't really mean much. It didn't really result in much, but it was a response nonetheless. I think Dylan Cousins probably could have been first man in if he wanted to, but I think Owen Power was like, nope, I'm going to be the guy, which was nice. I appreciate Eric Johnson being the guy to make him answer the bell. But at the end of the day, it just kind of sucks that that's the only guy you really have that was not willing to do it, but that was going to do it. That's where I think the Sabres, a role player. I've been saying this for a while. Sabres need you don't need tough guys. I would say tough. You don't need enforcers. You need guys who.
But we need grit. We need some attitude.
Like that, like a Nick Delorier. Maybe not like a Nick Delorier, but like a Keegan Colasar, Daniel Sprong. Guys who can go out there and drop the gloves when need be. I know you see guys like Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk do that all the time. You don't need guys like your high end talent, your elite players doing that. But I would like to see a third liner who can go out there, pop in 15 to 20 goals for you, but also is willing to rack up some penalty minutes in situations like that where you need a response. Thanks for the call, Jake, man. I really, really appreciate it. We're going to kick things over here to returning caller, Chris Dura. Chris, thanks for calling in again, bud. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, bud.
All right, now question for you, Duane. The goal by Lafferty, do you think that Buffalo should have looked into that a little more?
Here's the thing. Like, that was a very 50-50 for me as a goalie. Like, I don't know if that really hindered UPL's ability to stop that shot. I think that's going in regardless. He was well screened even before then. I think if he would have challenged it, probably could have went either way. But I think because it wasn't so clear cut, that's why they didn't want to take the chance. Because if you do challenge that and you lose a challenge, you do take a penalty there, and you get 2-for-1 special, and you can be down 2-0 really quick against one of the best teams. Actually, right now, the number one ranked team in the NHL, and a very, very, very explosive power play.
Well, I do appreciate the fight that we tried to put in, especially when we only had 4 defensemen at one point. You know, I got to say that when it comes down to it, it could have been a lot worse considering who we were playing against.
Yep.
When you have opportunities like we have got to make a guy like Demko work for it.
Yeah, I think they had 26 shots on net tonight to Vancouver's 23. Yeah. I think we had a lot of good chances. I would like, and we got bodies in the net. We just weren't finding those loose pucks. So Thatcher Demko is one of the best in the world, especially right now. That was his 4th shutout of the year. Now UPL knows what it was like to be Hasek for years, So, hey, Chris, as always, man, thanks for the call, bud. Appreciate you. We're going to kick things over now to Joshua Dinelli. Josh, first-time caller. Thanks, man, for hopping in. Let's hear your thoughts on tonight's game.
Duane, brother, first time, long time. First off, I hope you and everybody are well. Stay safe in the storm. I know, well, my Dolphin fan friends think that we're nuts, but whatever. But sticking to hockey, which is why we're here. First and foremost, Demko looked pretty good. We didn't test him too hard, but I think Casey Middlestad will be having nightmares for that guy for years to come. Secondly, I heard the Leafs GM was in the house. I heard a rumor about that. I don't know who they might be looking at on either team. And then thirdly, what do we need to do? Like, it's strange. We gotta we play so well and keep these really good teams so close, but then lose to teams like Montreal. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, again, you played to the level you needed to play with tonight against Vancouver. Again, as I mentioned on the previous caller, one of the, if not the best team in the National Hockey League now. Very explosive special teams. Just good, very good top to bottom. Everything's going right from them this season. They went and they got Zadorov on their blue line for, as I mentioned, I tweeted earlier, for a 3rd and 5th round pick, which is below my
nothing.
There's nothing. It's peanuts, especially for a team like Buffalo. Makes you wonder if we were in that conversation or not. I don't know. Would like to know that we were at the very least, because I think he brings a dynamic to the blue line that we're severely lacking. However, I did like their defensive game today. I loved it. I think it was one of their best efforts defensively all season as a 5-man unit from start to finish. Obviously, I would have liked Clifton to handle Lafferty a little bit better in front of the net. But to answer your question, why do we play up to talent and then play down to talent? I don't have an answer for that, man. If it's coaching, preparation, taking teams too lightly, I don't know, man. You have a lot of players on this team that have regressed. Tage Thompson, who, I don't know if I would say, his numbers have regressed, but I don't say it for its lack of trying. I just think pucks haven't been going in for him all season. I don't think he's been healthy either. Don Granato, he admitted that he hasn't played many games this season at 100%. I think he's been pretty much hurt since the first week of the season. I really don't know. I guess maybe sometimes when you play teams lower in the standings, they play a little hungrier. And maybe Buffalo just can't meet that desperation and play with that type of urgency at the drop of a hat like they should. I think it's on coaching. I personally, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's a coaching thing?
It has to be a coaching thing. I love Don Granato. I love the Donnie Meatballs mantra, but again, it's one of those things. I really don't want to see. I want to see him see it out. I don't want to see, more and more turnover. I'm not one of those guys that's like, pitchforks and fires, but I can't figure out what's happened other than what you had pointed out to, or I guess like to kind of add to what you're pointing out to, we got used to being the hunter that to those lower teams or those teams we deem to be lower than us. Not that anyone really is. They're hunting us because we're like the flash in the pan, the sizzle. So they're playing up to us, even though we're really not that good.
Yeah, I actually agree with all of that. I've been pretty critical of the coaching staff this year. I'm not saying it's a Don Granato has to be fired type of thing, but for me, it's more or less. I just think that the amount of experience, bench experience you have around Granato is very slim. I've harped on this. I beat it like a dead horse. I would have liked to have seen a more experienced coaching staff around him. And unfortunately, a lot of guy like Michael Pekka walk out the door to start before the season started. He's having a ton of success over with the Rangers. That's a guy I guarantee you is a head coach next season. So I don't know. Any final thoughts here before we kick it over to our next caller, Josh?
No, just appreciate your time, Duane, and just everyone stay safe.
Stay safe, everybody. And to finish things off, we're going to kick it over to Matt, returning caller. Love the hoodie, bud.
Thank you.
Your thoughts on tonight's game?
Well, it's the same thing you just tweeted at the end of the game. Yeah, why was Okposo out there on the ice with less than a minute to play? I mean, I know he's your captain, but
I don't. Is it a face-off thing? I don't know, because he was taking that face-off there at the end of the game. Maybe it's we need a guy that can win an offensive zone draw. Maybe they rely they have faith in him. I'm pretty sure it was him taking that draw.
Even when they did that with, when Eakin a few years ago, he would take a face-off at overtime and immediately get off the ice.
Yeah, it's tough to do that, though, with a little bit of time left in an offensive zone draw. At center ice, it's different. If you win it, then you can get off the ice. If you win that draw, it's a long skate back to your bench to switch and get back into play. But still, I think you'd let Casey Middlestat or another center take that draw. For me, I get the leadership and the experience that Kyle Okposo brings and being in a lot of situations. But for me, I want my 6 best skill set players on the ice. I want Quinn. I want Tage. I want Tuck. I want Paterka. I want Dahlin. Maybe even Power is my 6th guy. Like that's for me. That's just me. I don't know. I didn't even say Middlestat's name. So I didn't need Okposo out there. But Matt, as always, man, thank you for calling in. This has been Hockey Hotline, everybody. We're going to kick it right back over to I'll hang up and listen. And we're back for I'll hang up and listen. That was Hockey Hotline. Thank you to Jake, Josh, Chris, and Matt for calling in. Every time we've done that segment of the show, we've only had 3 callers. We had 4 this time, which is obviously nice. Maybe it's because it's a little bit earlier in the night, not 10:30 and after, where we're getting you guys on. So as always, thanks for calling in. To all those points, so one thing I did forget to address in Josh's question earlier too, and I'll address it right now, is there being a scout from Toronto. There's reported from Toronto in the building tonight. That does make me curious who they're watching. I mean, they could have been watching Vancouver. Obviously, there could be a player on Vancouver they might be watching. It's tough for me to think they'd be trying to make an in-division trade, or either team would be willing to do that. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but Vancouver, obviously in the Western Conference, I think that might have been probably a little bit more likely. But who knows? I don't know. I can't be that upset with their game tonight, other than the power play. Again, the amount of opportunities they had not capitalizing. It's inexcusable. If you want to, I was on another podcast earlier on Crossing Swords, and I mentioned, I put their odds at making the playoffs. And people thought I was crazy. Maybe I was at around like 30%. Maybe I'm a little crazy for thinking that. I think that we were in a very similar situation this time last year in the standings. I think the East has mostly regressed compared to last year. Obviously, Boston, I wouldn't say has like completely regressed. They're still the number 1 team in the East, but they are a little bit further behind than where they were last year. Toronto is definitely further behind. We're only 3 wins behind them. Granted, we're plenty more points behind because they have more loser points, but we are 3 wins behind Toronto right now for 3rd place in the Atlantic Division. So it's not out of the realm of like possibility. I don't know. I think that you need to start stacking wins. You can't win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 2, win 2, lose 3. You have to start stacking wins. They are now 3 and They were 3-1 in the new year. Now they're 3-2. They need to get that power play going. They need Dylan Cousins to get going. They need Tage Thompson to get to his form last year. That's going to be very tough, though, because he's not healthy. You can tell he's not healthy. He was questionable to even play today, per Granato yesterday, with the injury from the previous game. So I don't know. I don't think Tage Thompson has played more than a small handful of games this season at 100%. So I got a few comments here in the peanut gallery from Robert Seagrave. Sabres have less than a 10% chance to make the playoffs. Hey. The Bills' chances of winning division were probably right around the same. They stormed back and came back and won the AFC East. So nothing's impossible, especially when you're as cautiously optimistic as me. From Pablo Barossa, the shooters seem rattled. They buried so many pucks into Demko's jersey today. Paterka, for example, had a great one-time chance in the third, but put it into Demko's chest. Yeah, I mean, that was a great chance, too. From a little further out, more than I would have liked, but they did put – I don't want to say they made it easy for Demko tonight because obviously he made a couple pretty big saves, especially the one on the one-time opportunity for Casey where I think took a little bit too long. He was trying to roof it. I think you just need to snap that right away. And Demko gets over and makes a huge glove save. But with that being said, in terms of how difficult they made it for Thatcher Demko tonight, a lot of pucks right into his chest and in the pads. And when you did shoot and hit the pads, the rebounds, opportunities just weren't there. They were getting bodies of that, but they just weren't getting on those loose pucks. But in terms of like a blueprint and structure for what you want to do outside of the power play, I thought they played very well tonight. I will double down on this. I think this was their best team defensive game all season. Granted, they lost 1-0, but they lost 1-0. And I'm not going to say that goal should have been disallowed because I think it's going in no matter what, if that little bit of high contact with UPL was made or not. But, I mean, this game was a very winnable game. You, again, played up to a higher level team. You played up to their level. You need to keep doing that. I'm out here for moral victories. I want nothing to do with moral victories. But it's hard for me to complain for what we saw tonight outside of the officiating, which was horrendous. We'll get into that here in a second. And obviously the giant 8,000-pound elephant in the room, gorilla in the room, is the lack of execution on the power play. Also from Pablo, been without power since 12:30. Not supposed to get it until 3 p.m. tomorrow. Well, Pablo, I don't know how you're keeping your obviously mobile devices charged, but I could, I'll try and kick out as much, entertaining content here as long as I possibly can. Or I suggest go checking out any of our interviews on Two Goalies, One Mic to keep your mind occupied, for sure. So I would suggest the Clint Malarchuk, Owen Power, or Devin Levi episodes from Two Goalies, One Mic available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. A not so humble plug there for myself and my podcast. Sabres, we already got to that one. Bills have a lot more character on their roster than the Sabres. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I think I'm not going to discount that there is some better character on this team. We have 40 points in 43 games. We need 55 in the remaining 39 to have a chance. Again, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. This team went on a run in the second half of the season last year, and if they can do something similar this time around, if you can get everybody back on the same page, I think it's possible. I'm not saying we're gonna make play. I don't think we'll make the playoffs. I just don't. But I'm also not gonna say that it's impossible for them to find a way to get in. I think there has been some regression in the East, and it might be a little bit easier to go on that run and make it this year. I wish we could flip-flop teams, last year's team this year. You know what I mean? I just think that you would we'd all be a lot more optimistic in this team making the playoffs if we were getting the same output offensively, especially on the power play with this team this year as we did last year. UPL played well and defense played good, but they need to score and win. Yeah, definitely, Dylan. I couldn't agree with you more, man. You're preaching to the choir. I hate Clifton. Clifton is terrible. From Colin Smith. Connor Clifton is a third pairing guy, playing like a third pairing guy. With his faults, there are definitely some positives. Like, I was looking for him to be the guy to go after JT Miller instead of it being Eric Johnson. I think Eric Johnson just got to him first. Connor Clifton is one of the heavier guys in the team in terms of the way he plays. He's not afraid to fight. He's not afraid to hit. He's not afraid to be physical. We had on Billy Jaffe from Nesson Sports earlier this year, right after they signed Clifton in free agency. We talked a lot about him. And I think what we're seeing here is what he called Cliffy hockey. I just don't think we're getting the potential in this lineup that we saw when he was with Boston. Because there were a lot of Bruins fans that were upset to see him go, at the time at least. From Chris Durr, this was definitely a game where we missed Skinner, but I guess our team credit for effort, especially against a team like Vancouver, who is hot. Let's please get a win against San Jose. Yeah, you can't discount that. I think this is a much different game if Skinner is playing. There's one thing you could always count on him for is scoring, and I think this is a game where you definitely would have seen him get Buffalo on the score sheet. From Pablo, I agree. They did play good team defense. I'm assuming he meant defense. Say normally all 5 of them puck watch in the D zone and they lose track of opposition players. Today they kept their heads in the D zone and helped UPL. Yeah, like I said, UPL had a couple of decent saves, but for the most part they made it easy for them. Just like Vancouver made it tried to make it easy for Thatcher Demko. Split up the kid line, top 6 lines. What a joke. Paterka, Quinn, and Cousins all struggling, lack self-confidence, too much doubt, mix match players need to reset, spark another loss, moral victory. Yeah, I don't disagree with splitting up that line. I liked the way Benson looked with Paterka while Quinn was out. I think they should try and go back to that because I think Quinn could really kind of slot in on any line and succeed. Or maybe you make it Casey centering those two. I don't know what you do there. Maybe give Cousins a look with 2 other wingers. I don't know. Maybe it's Benson. Maybe it's Benson, Cousins, and whoever it is filling in that slot. And I'd love to see us maybe make a call to a guy named Yuri Kulik out of the AHL. But, who do I know? Vancouver isn't that good. They'll fade. Sabres are garbage. Stop making an excuse for a sub 500. I'm not making excuses, Robert. I think that Vancouver is a very good hockey team. I think they were built the correct way in terms of the draft. Just haven't gotten the results that they would have liked the past couple of years. I think Thatcher Demko is a very, very good goalie. And they've built a pretty good blue line there in Vancouver. Signing Zadorov or trading for Zadorov for peanuts was a good move for them. He plays a physical style, doesn't give up much in front of his own net. So I give credit where credit is due. I think Vancouver is a fantastic hockey team. Power play lacks any motion, movement. Second power play unit turns over the puck. Power miss, top grade, high danger. Numerous chances, poor accuracy, too much indecision. I will agree with that on Owen Power for sure. There were a couple times tonight where he held on to the puck way too long. Shoot the puck, Owen. Shoot the puck. Coming off what I thought was your best game of the season earlier this week against the Ottawa Senators. We need you shooting that puck more, man. Need you shooting. Already saw that one. Sabres are 1-2 on the homestand when you need to be 3-0. Yeah, I don't get it, man. They just don't play well at home for whatever reason. Even last year, they did not play well at home. I don't know. From Kevin, should have had a few better hits in the game. Pretty bad when your goalie needs a shutout to win the game. Again, I don't disagree with you. We need Victor Olsen to score, with Skinner out and Tage hurt. Vic is the only guy on the team who can beat any goalie in the NHL cleanly. They have missed his heads. They have messed his head up though. What a waste of. I'm assuming the next word there would have been talent. Why did we break up Girgensons, Robinsons, and Krebs? They play great against Ottawa, but no slow Okposo needs to play there. I agree. Robinson looked good. He had energy and pushed. Listen, I am all in favor of Robinson, Krebs, and Girgensons being a line that they bring some jam. They bring speed. I think Krebs is a better player with Eric Robinson on his wing. I just do. I think he's the best version. Not I wouldn't say the best version of himself, but in terms of those line mixes that they've made with those four guys, I think he's the best version of himself with Robinson instead of Okposo. I think it's really, really easy to see that. We need anyone to score with finesse, touch. Again, agreed. I just don't get what's keeping Yuri Kulik out of this lineup, especially when you're dealing with these injuries. I don't understand it. I really don't. After what you see he's done in the AHL so far this season, is he 18 or 19 now? Might be 19 now. And what he just did at World Juniors for Chechnya. I don't know what's keeping him out of this lineup. I don't know what Kevin Adams and Don Granado are thinking. I think more or less Kevin not making that phone call and saying, hey, let's give this kid an extended look and see if he can get at least one of our two power play units up and running, because it's too one-dimensional. It's too obvious what they're trying to do. Even on that the one power play opportunity, they had the entire all five men on one side of the ice, from the middle over to the left on Tage's side, and nobody over. They're trying to overload that side, and nothing spread out, and it drives me nuts. You have ice time, and space there to move the puck. They're down a man, and you're trying to overload that one side and give yourself less time and space to move the puck. I didn't understand that. I think Matt Ellis. We need a new GM. You just pointed out all the reasons. I don't think Kevin Adams is going anywhere. He's a Terry Pagula guy. I think the coach goes before the GM, and I don't know, as long as Terry Pagula's owner, it would take a major collapse for him to give him the boot. I think the only way Kevin Adams won't be GM is if he gets like a promotion to a hockey operations position, president of hockey ops, which we all know how they felt about that since LaFontaine. So I don't know. But just remember, this is brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Buffalo's premier market and tap room. Even in this cold weather, in frigid temperatures and the wind, some of the locations were open. Serving you guys from behind the pine, my buddy Greg Day in Lancaster today. Always great times to be had at Fatty Beer Company, Buffalo's premier market and tap room with 8 different locations and over 300 beers to choose from. Make sure you go check out Fatty Beer at Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, Buffalo Logo Apparel, one of the best places to get your local designs for all of your Buffalo sports needs. When it's the Sabres, the Bills, the Bisons, the Bandits, they have everything over at Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter. Sabres lose 1-0 tonight. I don't have much more to say than what I said, but I will touch on the one of the bigger talking points of this game, what happened with Rasmus Dahlin and JT Miller. And Samuelson. We didn't touch on that really much either, because that kind of flew under the radar at the beginning of the game. But Samuelson getting knocked out with a headshot, which I think Marty even pointed out in the postgame. He thought that was more egregious than what happened to Dahlin. I appreciated the response to Dahlin. It was immediate. And then even when JT Miller came back onto the ice 5 to 10 minutes later, Eric Johnson said, "We're going." And I appreciate that. Samuelson, the headshot, no call. Horrendous officiating tonight. I think, in the moment, that needs to be a major penalty to JT Miller. His head contact. It was. You have a conference to discuss it and knock Dahlin out of the game for an extended amount of time. That needed to be a major penalty or a match penalty. I don't understand how it wasn't. So that drove me nuts. And then obviously seeing the hit on Samuelson not getting called again, another missed call. But that not to say the refs did give us plenty of makeup calls during this game, gave us plenty of power play opportunities, and Buffalo just couldn't cash in. That again, it's not like we didn't have the opportunities. It was a 1-0 game. All we needed to do was score on just one of those power plays, and they just couldn't do it. I'm going to try and bring up some of Brian Koziel's post-game comments. He's always on top of those things, as you guys know. Let me see if I can find a little further back. But Brian Koziel with the post-game comments. Here we go. Granato, it's not nice having two guys in concussion protocol for getting hit in the head and getting no power play out of it. It's frustrating. I totally agree. Granado says he likes how the guys stepped up after the high head hits to defend their teammates, including Gergensen's taking some shifts on defense. Yeah, I guess Gergens played defense tonight because they were down to 3 D-men when Eric Johnson took that fighting major, which, again, you hate to see one of your defensemen, when you're already down 2 defensemen at the time, have to be the guy to answer that bell. But unfortunately, that's what the Buffalo lacks in their forward groups, is a guy that can answer that bell. I mean, it has been Cousins in the past, but we saw what happened with Cousins and Hathaway earlier in the season. I think he's just trying to stay away from that. I think he could have been the guy to answer the bell. I don't think JT Miller is a guy who's going to clean his clock. I think he could have stepped up to a guy like him and really went pound for pound. But you lack a guy like that in your lineup that can answer the bell. You don't need an enforcer type player to be on your team like a Ryan Reeves, but a guy in your bottom 6 who can score 12 to 15 goals a season and rack up some penalty minutes in situations like this when you need somebody to hold another guy accountable on the opposing team. I think they need that desperately. A role player, a guy who's going to hold the other team accountable and you guys accountable, for sure. It'll resonate throughout that locker room, in my opinion. Also, from let me see this. Middlestat says they knew how dangerous the Canucks were and they felt they defended them well, but knows that they need wins right now. Yeah, they definitely do. Casey, as Josh said earlier on Hockey Hotline, is going to have nightmares about Thatcher Demko tonight because he had a lot of opportunities and just could not bury. Dahlin says that hits the head to him and Samuelson. It's best for me not to comment on it. So obviously he's frustrated. Probably doesn't want to get fined. Dahlin on elbow by Miller. It hit my head. It's a hit to the head. It is what it is. Dahlin, we created a lot and we didn't give up a lot of chances. Yeah, I think tonight, defensively as a team, this is probably one of their best games. 100%. Just sucks that it was in a losing effort. Dahlin says they are brothers in the room and appreciate the response. He appreciates the response from his teammates. Again, I loved the response. Just wish you responded more on the scoreboard. That's for sure. We have basically told a 28 goal scorer, you suck. We don't need you. And we can't score a guy who doesn't need a screen or a tip-in. And we treated him like crap. That is an anomaly with him because, I haven't had a ton to complain about when it comes to Victor Olofsson this season. I think from his 200-foot game, it's improved a lot. I think that's probably been a focus for him in the offseason because he, probably wants to stay on the Sabres, or B, if it's not on the Sabres, he wants to play in the NHL next year. He doesn't want to start this next season still looking for a team. I don't know. I think he is. We've seen it so many times how incredible that shot is. It is kind of mind-blowing to me that Donnie hasn't found a way to put him in a better position to score with that shot. And that's a critique on the coaching. I don't understand it because we know he can score at a high clip in this league. We've seen it multiple times. I just wish that Donnie would figure it out because they need to score right now. They desperately need to score goals right now to make up ground in the standings. Even with loser points, they're not getting them. If you want to be depressed, look at Cousins' shooting percentage every season of his career. He's a 7% shooter, except in last year when he was 14. Yeah, Cousins is struggling this season. Struggling. They basically got 6 minutes of power play in a row from the end of the second through the beginning of the third period. Power play just isn't good, and it hasn't been good for about 73 games now. I don't know. I didn't really think of it going into last year, too. It did struggle at the end of last season, and you needed to come through for you on multiple occasions when it mattered most. Last season even, and it didn't. So I just think they need a change behind that bench around Granato. They need a new look, a fresh look. Unfortunately, those moves aren't always made mid-season. So with that being said, guys, obviously the weather outside is frightful. Bills game was moved to Monday late afternoon at 4:30 supposed to be played tomorrow against the Steelers. Obviously, with the conditions and the expected conditions tomorrow, it has been moved, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. After what we went through last year in the blizzard of 2003, I think every precaution is necessary. You don't want to run into those issues again, even though the city of Buffalo, the Bills, are receiving a lot of hate online, unrightfully so, I think, because they weren't here last year to experience what we experienced, and the expectation for the weather tonight and tomorrow. Thank you, Pablo. Thanks for always hopping on. Thanks for always being here in the post game. To all of you, be safe out there. Stay warm. Hope you got all your essentials ahead of time. If not, just buckle down and ride this one out and stay safe. So this has been another episode of I'll Hang Up and Listen, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company and Buffalo Go Apparel. Signing off. We will talk to you later on. I forget what their next game is against San Jose. But we'll talk to you later. You guys have a fantastic night. And as always, stay safe.
All the ups, but we fell